Welcome back to my channel, guys. Again, thank you for the support. Thank you for following me, for following my videos. This video is going to be about some of the most common questions, sorry, that you can actually ask a person that has Asperger's, or better still, the most common questions that are being asked when somebody comes into contact with an Asperger person. So I'm going to try and answer based on my own experience. So this, again, is not a general thing that applies to every single individual. This is a personal thing. It's a personal experience that I've got. Yeah, I'm just gonna read the question, try to answer. I didn't really go through the questions really in depth because I didn't want my brain to work behind my back and kind of figure out answers and things. So let's start. Alright, so first question, do you find it difficult to form friendships? So short and simple answer is no, I do not find it difficult. I do have instances when I just get a block. I don't even know what to say, but then 2 minutes into it, I just start asking questions and whatever, and I do manage to form new friendships. For me, and this again is not a general thing about everybody that has this problem. For me, it's hard to maintain or to cultivate that friendship. What does this mean? This means that once I've got to be your friend, once we got to know each other, I'm not going to be the guy that calls you every 3 days to say, "Ooh, how are you, what are you doing, you want to hang out, blah blah." I'm just going to be, you know, if I don't see you for 5 years, when I see you, I'll just behave like those 5 years never existed, like there's never been a break. Because when I get to hang out with somebody that I've met 5 years ago, for me, is like we've always been in contact, you know, which is a weird thing. Because normal people, if they don't get to be in contact with people, they kind of lose that relationship. For me, it doesn't change. It doesn't get better, but it doesn't get worse either. So it's a bit of a weird thing, but this is my experience. So I'm not going to be the guy, again, I'm not going to be the guy that picks up the phone and calls you or sends you a text and what have you. But when I see you, I'm not going to behave like a stranger. And I still have doubts whether that is normal or not. So this is the first question. Question number 2. And this, I think this is a very general thing that goes and applies, I think, sorry, my brain just paused for a second, that applies to most people that have Asperger or autism in general. The question is, because of the syndrome you have, does it mean you do not really get irony? No, not in my case. I grew up listening to comedy, watching stand-up comedy, watching sitcoms, watching whatever was involved in this kind of videos, and I did develop a bit of a ironic way of joking. So I do get irony. I do serve it a lot to others, especially in a social environment where it's the only way in which I can actually make it. And sometimes the level of irony or the level of humor or whatever you want to call it that I put forward is actually awkward for the others, because I feel like what I have to say is not the others don't get it. So that can be a bit of an awkward situation, which happens quite a lot to me, I'll be honest with you. But again, it doesn't apply to me. I do get irony. I will say 80% of the time. So what happens the other 20? The other 20, it's simple, isn't it? I just don't get it. Why? Because sometimes if I don't know you well enough, I'm not going to be able to tell if you're joking to me or if you're serious. So let's say I've met you today or a week ago, and we have very little interaction. You might be putting some irony out there. You might be saying something, joking in a way, and I would be like, what is he? Is he actually serious? Is she actually, you know, joking? So there is a 20% of situation in which I say 20. I didn't actually measure it, but I'm just trying to put it as most of the time I do get it. Some of the times I don't. So it's a bit of a mixed thing, but I know it's too late. Short answer, I do get irony most of the times. Question number 3. Are you often forced to overthink things? To be honest, first of all, I don't really understand this question really well. But you probably notice even in my videos, I tend to overthink things even when I speak, because sometimes I say or I use a word and then it just becomes like, oh, that might not be the right word, so I have to change it. So I go back on myself and reformulate and give myself a second chance to say things in a different way. So I do often feel like I overthinking things. And that is the same when I actually do something. I start with an idea, halfway through I have this feeling like, yeah, but it would have been better that way. So I break it down, start from scratch. So that's why it takes me forever to actually accomplish something. When it comes to actually doing things, I'll give you an example. For sometimes my wife tells me, why does it take you 3 days to give an answer to a simple question, or to have a simple reaction to something that you heard or you saw? It's just because my mind has to go through all the different scenarios, pick the right one, and put it out there. And halfway through that process, I panic and I say, oh, maybe I didn't choose the right one, so I have to go back on myself and pick another one. And I do the same 10 times until somebody tells me, yo, wake up, do something, say something. So yes, often forced to overthink things, which is massively heavy on the brain. I'll be honest with you, it takes a big toll on the mental energy. And usually when I am faced with a situation that I have to make a decision, or I have to just express an opinion or a thought, it takes me forever. I just develop this kind of like, I don't care, whatever, you choose. You say, you make the decision, and I just put it on the others so that I don't have to go through all this crazy process of picking the right thing, and halfway through my decision to go back on myself and pick something else, and so on and so forth. So yes, this is quite an annoying process that happens on a daily basis, on an hourly basis, with every single thing that has to be processed by my brain. Again, do not take this as doctrine, do not take this as a general thing for everybody. This is my experience, I speak for myself and on my behalf. Question number 4. Does it ever feel like you're living in your own world? 24/7 actually. This is actually, this for me, this question is actually connected to the one that to the previous one. Why? Because it takes me so long to process a thought, to process an emotion, to process a decision, and so on and so forth. I do live in a world of my own, because time goes past me, situations go past, and I'm still thinking of something that was supposed to be decided a month ago, or maybe not a month ago, but a few days ago maybe. So that means I am slightly disconnected from the reality most of the time. Now, do not take that as me being a loony or crazy. I'm just, my brain takes a lot of time to process things, to understand things. That means most of the time I will look like I'm not present. My brain is somewhere else, is behind. So yeah, most of the time feels like I live in my own world, in which I have to deal with things that a neurotypical would be like, done, 3 seconds, done. Takes me a week to process. So yeah, I do have a world of my own, which is governed by my own brain, and in which I don't really have access, which sounds a bit weird, but I can't control it. It just happens in there, and whenever that's done, I can move forward. So sometimes I'll be absent for, I don't know, days at a time without actually remembering anything that happened in the last 3 days. Let's give you just to give you an example. So, do you get sensory overload? Yes, a big yes. I do get sensory overload. Mainly has to do with movement and sound for me. What does that mean? That means that if I'm in a social environment, let's say I meet with 10 people, after 2 hours of interacting, of being there, my brain needs to shut down. And because I can't just shut it down and go to sleep, I usually tend to push it, which makes me or puts me in a position of getting panic attacks because my brain cannot handle the situation anymore. If I don't get panic attacks, I get irritated and angry. Not in a violent way, but I get angry, as in I can't handle it anymore. It just makes me angry. So what happens? I'll just give you an example. For example, if I drum a car and there's a small noise, a rattle or something inside the cabin, I have to stop, find what it is, and make it stop. I cannot drive forward without being like I'm gonna smash this car and light it on fire if it makes another small noise. So yeah, when it comes to noises, and when it comes to um, movement, that has a big toll on my brain. It just literally sucks all the energy out instantly. And it's quite hard to deal with that because, again, it takes a lot of time to recover mental energy for me. And if I have something that takes it away in 5 seconds, I'll need a day to get back and feel good again, which then makes it awkward for those who are around me, makes it difficult for me to actually enjoy that day. And it all starts with just to go back to the example I made you, with a small rattle in my car, like, I don't know, the dashboard, I hit a pothole or something, and the dashboard is making a squeaky noise or something, or I've got something in my glove box and it just moves and vibrates and makes a noise. And for me, that is like absolutely unbearable. Most people will be like, nah, that's nothing. So this sensory overload is something that is very, very, very hard to deal with for me, in my own experience. When it comes to movement, I'll give you another example. If I'm outside and you talk to me, I will not hear a word you say. Why? Because if somebody moves in front of me, if I don't know, a bird flies around, if a leaf is falling down from a tree, if something moves around me, my brain instantly focuses on that. And because around us there's a lot of movement, whether there's people or not, my brain is always focusing every 5 seconds on something else. So I'm not going to be able to listen to you. I'm not going to be able to have a normal interaction in a social environment or in an environment where there's things moving around me. My brain will constantly feel the need to be distracted, to be focusing on what's going on. Every single detail matters. Why did that fall down? Why did that have to fly now? And so on and so forth. So when it comes to movement, there is very heavy to deal with. Sometimes I have my wife asking me, should we study, should we read something together? That's, again, it's something that I cannot do. Why? Because if I don't have perfect silence, if I don't have perfect everything to be stopped, like blocked around me, I cannot focus, I cannot even read, I cannot even think, I cannot even speak. So again, this situation makes me angry. Again, I don't get angry in a violent way. I'm not a violent person. I'm not like somebody to I just get angry and I cannot control my thoughts, I get angry, I want to go to sleep and I want to be on my own. So, sensory overload, difficult thing to live with. And this is my experience. Just when it comes to these two things, there's many more, like light and other things that are hard to deal with. But I focused on these two, sounds and movement, and this is my experience. Is it hard for you to make eye contact? If so, why? I think, so first of all, the answer is yes, I do. It's hard for me to make eye contact. Why? I feel like by making eye contact with somebody, I'm getting into I invade their privacy, which means every time, even now that I speak to a camera and I'm not making eye contact with nobody, even making eye contact with myself, it's a difficult thing because it feels like I'm invading somebody's privacy. I feel awkward. Am I doing it right? Am I doing it too much? So I just avoid doing it altogether. I feel that if I do it, it becomes a really profound, serious thing, which puts me in a bad place because I'm like, ooh, am I weird now? By just pointing my eyes at somebody and be like, so it's very hard to make eye contact because my brain just can't take it. Sometimes, or most of the times, it's hard to make eye contact with my own wife, which is awkward because in a way she is me, she is part of me, so I shouldn't be having difficulties in this, but I do, and it is hard to express what I think or what I feel generally. But if I do have an eye contact, I cannot speak. My mouth just, you know what I mean? I cannot have this, which means even when I speak to my wife or on a profound matter, or when it comes to just expressing how I feel or trying to understand that, or when she expresses what she feels, I will never have eye contact. Therefore, when it comes to strangers or people that I know less, eye contact is going to be a very, very rare thing. Why? Because it is hard to deal with those connections. For me, if you have eye contact with somebody, you're making a very deep connection. Therefore, my brain cannot do such a thing. My experience only, again, I don't know about the others, this is based on my experience. Can I read facial expressions? Well, I guess that says it all, doesn't it? So, before I answer this question, I'm just gonna. I like movies, I like videos of people having facial expressions or being very expressive with regards to what they feel in relationship to a situation. So, what does that mean? That means if something happens, I don't know, they're scared, they will have a certain facial expression, and I'm extremely interested in that, and I'm trying to understand, well, why did you have that expression? What does it mean? What does it make you feel? Because I don't have it. I can't feel that. I can't express that. So because I don't really have facial expressions myself when it comes to what I feel, or to express what I feel through my facial expressions. It's very hard, of course, to understand what the others are trying to put across through the facial expressions, which is a normal thing for an atypical person. So, based on my experience, I have to go, or I have to see a situation many times before I actually understand that that facial expression is connected, or is what somebody should have in a certain situation. So if you're scared, that's the facial expression. If you're excited, that's the facial expression. If you are, I don't know, sad, that's the facial expression. If you are, I don't know, your mind's blown out because you've seen something extremely exciting, that's the facial expression. I have the same facial expression for whatever situation, which is extremely sad and extremely worrying, because sometimes I had to go through instances in my life when I've seen accidents, sadly enough, people dying. I had no expression, no feeling towards that, which is extremely sad. Sometimes, and this is an example that I always make, if I see somebody, I don't know, getting into a car crash or smashing a window, for me, the facial expression and the feeling is the same. I do not see any difference in how I should act based on those two situations. So, facial expressions and expressing what I feel through facial expressions is something that I cannot do. I just cannot do. True story, in a way, the fact that you do learn. So you go through the process of living every day, and you see how people react, and then you kind of start to associate that facial reaction to a certain action. But keep in mind, every single individual is different, which means sometimes a certain person will have a certain facial expression that is not connected to the situation in your mind makes the connection with. So I'm just gonna get it wrong. I'll be like, "Ooh, he's scared," but he's not scared. He's just, maybe that's his way of expressing, I don't know, being amazed or being whatever. So very hard to deal with reading facial expressions and actually having the right facial expression based on the situation I go through. Do I ever offend anyone? Yes, all the time. Why? It's all connected with the things that I've told you so far. What does that mean? It means that because I don't really understand emotions, I don't really understand the effects my words or the way I express myself have on the others, which means sometimes I can be really straightforward or be really honest in my mind, just saying what I'm supposed to say, but that thing that I'm saying at that time, it's not adequate for the situation. So there's an English expression that says feel the room, right? Just to understand what's going on around you and act based on that. That's something I cannot do, okay? Which means whatever comes to my mind when you say something, I'll say it back to you. But it's not something that has to do with being ill-educated or being being a rude person. It's not. It's just that the fact that the brain has an instant response, which interprets as the right thing to say, but then atypicals will be like, "What? You are rude. You are very offensive. You are sarcastic. You are ironic. You are." Is not something that I do on purpose, and I'm sure most of the people that have Asperger syndrome have this difficulty, because every time we express something, we get to the point where somebody gets offended, or somebody gets like the feeling that we're very rude, very direct, and that can be how can I put this, can be a block in actually putting, and I'll speak on my own behalf, putting myself across as a decent human being. Okay, I don't think people think I'm mean, but I am convinced that people consider me rude and offensive at least half of the times I open my mouth. Do you need to stick to a routine? Absolutely. If something changes, if something is like, if I build a plan in my brain for the day, and I know that that has to happen at 9:30 in the morning, 11:15 that finishes and something else starts. If something messes up that routine, my brain gets in a really bad mood, which means again, I get to be angry. I want to stress the fact that when I get angry, I'm not a violent person. I do not have I just get into a really bad mood, and I'm like, the heck with it, I don't care about it anymore. I'm not doing anything. I'm going straight to bed, straight to sleeping, because you've ruined my routine, you've ruined my plan for the day, you've made changes to what my mental plan was, and that puts me in a bad mood. Why? Because if I don't have a plan, I cannot function. If I don't have a routine, I cannot function. I'm not the type of person that can improvise on the moment and just make a decision right there. It takes me forever to make a decision, which means if you change my routine, if you change my plan, that it was already dealt with in my mind, that I was ready to go through that plan and to deal with the situations based on that plan. If you make a change to that, my day is gone. My day is gone. I cannot put it back together. It takes me uh, forever to accept the fact that there was a change and we had to deal with it. So this means that every day I have a routine. That's how I do things. If something changes again, it will take me forever to adapt to it. I will be in a bad mood because of it, and I will annoy people a lot in this process. Why? Because for an atypical person, making changes in your plan, making changes in your day, adapting to new situation really quickly, improvising, and so on and so forth, it's a normal thing to do. This is life. This is how we work. Situations can change. People around you can do things that you're not expecting for them to do. Therefore, normal people or atypicals will be like, yeah, fine, let's deal with it. Me, I'm like, oh no, giving up on this day. You've ruined it. You were 5 minutes late, you've ruined it. Which is annoying because, again, in my work, in my other social activities, in my volunteering work that I do, we have a schedule to follow, we have things to do, we have a program that needs to be held in an organized manner, and if somebody gets it wrong for just a second, my brain wants to shut down and wants to move away from that because I'm annoyed. Everybody's like stupid. Everybody's an idiot for not being able to keep that routine and so on and so forth. It's not the case, but that's what my brain feels like. So that's when I become rude. That's when I become direct with people and tell them things that I could easily go on without saying. But I just feel like, oh, I need to tell you because you didn't do it right. You didn't follow the plan. You didn't. So, yeah, I do need to stick to a routine. I do need to follow through with the plan I've created in my mind, because my brain knows what it's going to do, and then if that changes, I'm like in a really bad place. What was your experience of school like? It was weird. First of all, in the first years of school, I had to be on my own. So the first years of school I've done in Romania in the early 90s. So that was a country that was just coming out of a communistical period. People were still imprinted with a communistical mentality. So everything was cold. Everything was like you couldn't speak about anything that. How can I put this? You were not allowed to express yourself. You were not allowed to speak. You were asked a question. You had to answer the question with certain words, if you would go out of that context with something that you felt like you had to add, it was a big issue. So because I had these issues, and nobody would know about these issues, because in the early 90s in Romania, nobody would actually understand that those are things that you need to deal with in your child, and so on and so forth. So they would just put me in a different, I don't know, in a corner at the back of the classroom and have me do exercises on my own. And they would ask me to do exercises that were 2 years ahead of what I was what I used to study, because I was bored at school. I was annoyed. You're like, people are stupid. Why is it so hard not to get a mathematical thing, or the sense of a word, or why do we need to go through making lines on a, because when I went to school I already knew how to read and write. I was bored. I was like, I know, let's get to the next one, let's get to the next one. And I would never shut up, actually, because again, I was always saying what I was thinking. So that was very, very awkward, very difficult. I do want to mention one thing which is really, really sad. I used to get properly beaten up by the teachers physically, because that was the method of teaching back then in Romania. And I remember the teachers just slapping me, or just, I don't know, pulling my ears with my hair, or hitting my hands with the stick that I used to indicate things on the blackboard. And that just me being punished because I would never shut up, or I would never follow the lessons because I was bored, because I already understood what it was, and because so on and so forth. So I had to go through a lot of situations like that. But again, that was normal for that country in the early 90s, okay? It was normal. Even if I would go home and tell my parents what happened, they'd be like, well, why didn't you just shut up? They wouldn't be like, oh no, somebody hit my kid and I'm gonna go and defend him. It wasn't 2020 in a Western country. It was 1993, 94 in a mainly communistical country, in which nobody was allowed to speak if they weren't asked something. So that was my experience at school in Romania. Now, when I was about 10, 11, I started, my parents moved to Italy, and I've carried on my high school years in Italy. So what was the difficulty in Italy? First of all, I didn't speak the language, so it was hard for me to just go to high school without speaking the language. How am I going to communicate with these people? So it was hard for me to actually interact with my colleagues. It was hard for me to be part of whatever activities they were having on. Most difficult part was, though, the trip that I had to do from the bus to school. So I had to walk about 5 minutes from where the bus would drop me to the actual building, the school building, and that was the hardest part for me. Why? Because sometimes I had to make eye contact with people. Sometimes I had to listen to things that people were talking around me. I had to listen to cars driving around, noise, and Italy, I don't know if you know how it is, but usually traffic is really, really bad, and also there's a lot of noise. Everybody's angry in traffic, everybody's sounding their horn, and every 5 minutes somebody's shouting and things like that. So because of this situation, those 5 minutes would drain me of brain energy. And also I would have this like electric shocks to my brain every 5 seconds in that 5-minute journey, which maybe by the time I got to the building, the school building, I was sweating like somebody that's been in a sauna for an hour and a half. Yeah, so I was drained physically, emotionally, mentally. Everything was a mess, which obviously didn't put me in a good situation in school, because then I couldn't focus. I just couldn't deal with what was going on during the lessons. So this was my experience in school. it was never a pleasant experience in school for me. Never a good one. What is the most annoying issue related to Asperger syndrome for you or for me? There's quite a few actually. The main one is the fact that I do not understand human emotion, which means, as I was telling you before, I've been married 10 years. I remember that in the first 8 years of my marriage, every time my wife wasn't feeling well, every time she was going through an emotional situation and she was crying and stuff, I was like, why are you crying now? I just can't stand that noise, just stop. Just instead of being supportive of her and trying to kind of comfort her, which is normal to do when you see somebody crying, especially if we're talking about a spouse, I would just get angry. I'd be like, get over it, come on, I can't stand you, I'm just gonna go and sleep in the other room. I can't stand you crying. What was wrong with you? And that is hard. That is hard to deal with. It takes a toll on your brain, it takes a toll on your marriage, it takes a toll especially on your spouse, because they'll be like, what's wrong with you? Why do you have to react like this? I'm not feeling well. Instead of you being supportive, because that's your role as a partner, isn't it? You get angry and you actually yell at me because I'm crying. So that used to be extremely annoying. I've been working hard on that aspect and I'm trying hard. I still have issues sometimes with it if it happens. Sometimes I do manage to just, I'm not going to say anything, but I'm just going to be there. I'm just going to be there, give her a hug. I won't be able to say much, but I don't want to leave. I don't want to seem like I'm rude. I don't want to seem like I don't want to offer the support. I'm just going to work through it. Even if it takes all my energy away, I'm just going to work through it and make it happen so that she feels the comfort. She feels like, yeah, he's here, he's giving me support. I'm having a bad day, but I know I can rely on him. So that is one of the most annoying issue for me. Another one is that, or is this one. There are people that are diagnosed with ADHD, so they are extremely energetic and extremely high, like they have to do something, they have to say something all the time. They have to do, like they're shaking because the energy levels are so high and they just cannot deal with them. They must be doing something. For me, the problem is ADD. And what does this mean? Is the fact that I understand I have to do things, I understand I have responsibilities, I understand there's a lot of things that I actually have to be there for and make it happen, but I don't have the drive to get up and do it. So I don't have the motivation, that burst of energy that usually motivates the ones that have ADHD to do things. I lack it. I know I have to do all these things, and I know I'm conscious about the responsibilities I've got, but I cannot get up and do it. I'm like a vegetable, just like, can't be bothered. I'm just not gonna do it. Nah, I'd rather sleep. It just involves too much fatigue on a mental level, and I'm just like, I'm not ready to do it, you know. But I do know I have to do it. I do know that if I don't do it, it will hurt people or it will damage the others. Yet, I just cannot get up and do it. And that is a very annoying thing, because it can create so many problems that I have to deal with them later. And it is annoying because, again, I could be easily solving one small issue and I just don't have the drive to do it, and then I have to find the drive to do or to resolve 5 bigger issues that I've created by not doing the first one. So those 2 things are the most annoying for me when it comes to having or to living with this. And we got to the final question: do you like having Asperger's or being on the autism spectrum? I don't know how to answer this. There's a lot of things that I wouldn't change. I love the fact that I can pick up on details more than an atypical one or neurotypical one. Actually, not an atypical, but a neurotypical one can. I maybe have used during this video the term atypical when it came to neurotypicals, but neurotypical is the one that I have to use. So let's call them neurotypical or normal people, or those who do not have the syndrome. Atypical is the ones who have the syndrome. So apologies if I've mixed them up. But what I was saying, so do you like having autism? I do and I don't. Again, I was saying I like certain aspects of it. I like the fact that I can pick up on details. I like the fact that because I live in a bit detached from my personality, I can actually view the things around me in detail. So I like that part. I don't like the fact that there's a lot of struggle with regards to social environment, to feelings and things like this. So that is the part that I do not like. I would like to change. So it's a bit of a mixed answer. I do like having it because I feel like I have something extra, but I don't like having it because I feel like I've got less than the others. So I think it's the best answer I can actually give to this question, if it makes any sense. So those are some of the most common questions that people with Asperger's are being asked. I've tried to give answer based on my own experience. Again, this does not apply to every single individual. I do not want this to be a rule. I do not want this to be something that everybody else must have, or this is my own experience, period. So thank you very much for watching this. Please subscribe, please share this video. Again, all this sharing of experience can help other people, with dealing the situations. There's a lot of people out there that do not have the knowledge, or did not have the possibility to actually understand what their problem is. Let's share this information with the others. Let's allow others to actually learn from in this case my experience, and allow them to actually get to the point where they understand they've got a problem that they have to deal with, or at least understand the basics of what's going on with them. So please share, please like, and please subscribe to this channel. And again, thank you for watching, thank you for the support, and see you at the next one.